So we've used color with our lines, but now we're going to use color by actually filling in the shapes with paint. So I have a water-based paint set nearby that I'm going to be using. So I'm looking at my shapes thinking about what colors I want to use. So we talked about how you're using geometric shapes. That would be triangles, squares, rectangles, things that you would talk about in math. But then the sort of round, the dome shapes that I put on the rooftops here, the leafy shapes, those we called organic. Organic shapes are things that look like they come from nature. You might remember me calling this a leafy shape. At first someone would want to say it's an oval, but it kind of has corners there. So it's almost like a football or a leaf shape. So that would be something that would come from nature if we lean towards calling it a leafy shape. So organic means shapes that come from nature. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to get my brush ready. So I'm tapping it out, running it over the edge of the bucket 2 times to get rid of extra water but keep some in it. So I think what I want to do is repeat some of the colors. Like I want to use blue, but I'm not going to do it inside a blue shape here because I like the idea of seeing the green lines. Now something else I'm going to notice, because I used that white crayon and I pressed hard, I actually get to see the white lines. So I guess I could have gone in there and painted them, but I'm kind of worried that with the water-based paint that the white paint would have mixed with the blue. So I'm going to use this blue in some other places too. So I think it would look good to have it over here. And this is another place I use the white crayon. So I'm going to go through and find places to use this blue. I'm repeating it, but not in exactly the same way every time because I am using it inside different shapes. So you guys are probably thinking, well, that's more using not pattern, because I am repeating, but not in an order, not in a predictable way. So that is how an artist would show repetition. So I'm repeating this blue, just not the same way every time, not inside the exact same shapes in order. So I think maybe this one could be this blue. Add a little bit more paint to make it darker. If I want it lighter, more water. Darker, more paint. I want to be careful that I don't cover up the white line. So if I see that happening, I can always kind of go back over it and pick up some of that paint off of there. Squeezing out my brush to try to get that back off. There we go. Then I outlined some things in purple, so I think I'll go in and use this purple color. About where would there be good places to use it where I get to see everything I did. If I painted this green later, that would hide those green lines, but I want them to show up. So if I paint it purple, the purple and the green will look different from each other, so that will show contrast. That's another way artists use color. So anywhere I drew with the white crayon, as long as I pressed hard and I really put a thick layer of crayon wax on there, in this case, I just used too much water, so I'm squeezing out my brush, and I'm going to go back and pick up some of that water off of there so I can still see that triangle that I drew inside of there earlier. So where else would it look good to use this purple? Thinking here, the purple would kind of hide that shape, except I am going to go around it. And I think I remember putting a white line in there. I did. So I'm glad I remembered that, but I gotta get that extra paint off of there. There we go. Now I'm gonna switch to green. So I'm going to be working on painting my castle design. You guys are going to be working on yours. So when you are ready, play the next clip to see how we'll finish.